Welcome, Sainers. Welcome to the final team show of the 2025 AFL season. Thanks to Southside Pizza. Check them out around the corner from RSEA Park. Boys and everyone watching, I think, I don't know how much we're going to talk about the Essendon game or even the Giants game, to be honest, because we had some massive news to kick off the week. Everyone knows my reaction. I did a video when I heard the news, but I want to hear everyone's reactions in the comments. And obviously, Ollie and Evan, thank you very much for joining me on this Thursday night again. Where were you? What were you doing? What was your initial reaction? Can we reenact it, please?
Do we have news? Something happened this week.
I'm not
sure what you're talking about.
Some small bits of news.
I think, I can't remember, it was early Monday afternoon. So I think I was just at home. I knew it was going to happen though. I was staunch on it coming through at some stage. I didn't think he was going to leave. So I was just more sigh of relief than anything else.
I'm glad you had confidence because I definitely didn't. But I was sitting about 2 feet that way. And if my phone was going off the chain, I can't imagine what yours was like, Jakey, because I was getting the Saints text, the AFL website, and all the mates' footy chats. It was good news, and it's good to get news that goes across the whole footy media that's actually positive for the Saints in a way. So very exciting, and 2 years is a great timeline that we can try and fit within.
Yeah, I don't know what your opinion of that is, but I love that there's a little bit of heat on the club now to really push on and continue to grow, get the free agents over the line, hopefully, and maybe even finish the season on a high. Who knows what we can do? Relaxed now that that's done. See how Naz goes without that pressure, even though he's been exceptional with it, handling that pressure of the contract talks and all the outside noise. But this is the first game in a while where we don't have that sort of outside noise and we can go into it and just play Saints footy, have a bit of fun, and hopefully win 5 in a row, potentially to end the season. And I can't recall a season where we've finished with 5 straight wins. Can you remember the last time we've ended a season with such a streak? That is an interesting fact. Wooden Spoon data, Woody, if you're in the chat, please find that. I reckon we're going back to 2010 or something. Where even then, I don't think we finished the season with that many straight wins. But we do have the Giants. Before I get into that, I do want to ask: did you guys get the $7 memberships? Did you buy any tees, any merch with Naz's face on it? Or just just wait?
Can't say I did, but only because it's helped me commit to a full-scale membership. You know, I've been teetering on the edge of a Tassie membership, and this is the kind of thing that, you know, you end off the year and you're like, okay, I'm fine leaving the auto replay on that membership there.
Yeah.
I didn't get the membership because I'm already a member. So I've signed someone up if they wanted to be signed up. But yeah, the Naz shirts are quite a nice like graphic tee as well. So I might have to invest.
It's pretty crazy. The article on afl.com.au just came out and they talked about what financially has happened in the last 3 days since all of that has happened. So they've sold over 10,000 right now of those $7 3-game memberships for 2026. And I didn't actually know that was just new members. So when that rolls over, potentially into 2027, they can all upgrade to a full membership. That would be over $1 million to the St Kilda Football Club, which is just incredible business, great from the marketing team. But obviously to have a player like him that is so marketable, it's been a long time coming since we've had that. So that domino effect of signing him and all of this that can come with it on top of it is incredible. And I think they've made over 25,000 in the t-shirts as well from what I read. So unbelievable. Hopefully just the beginning though. But amazing work from the club to obviously utilize the situation, and maybe we'll get some Winhager t-shirts soon. What do we reckon?
Hopefully.
I reckon.
And I think the other side being, you know, sometimes it's a bit of a fight to get a full stadium, even Marvel Stadium. You know, we don't always have the biggest turnouts, but this is proof that we have a player that is bums and seats kind of gameplay right there. Like, he's the kind of player that you want to get see. And there's already 10,000 people that are ready to go out to games, and that
Yep.
just hopefully get the ball rolling.
Yeah,
If
I
we
can't
played
wait for
Marvel
round
this
one.
week, if we were at Marvel this
true.
week, I reckon we would have packed it out. But we're not, unfortunately. But it would have been one of the biggest Saints crowds all year.
Mm.
It would have been the biggest, 100%. 100% would have been the biggest. All right, I guess we should probably get stuck into the upcoming game. We've got the early time on Sunday, 12:20 p.m. at NG Stadium against the Giants, who will be playing finals. I think their position in the top 8 can fluctuate depending on how this game goes and other results. But for us, I think we can finish as low as maybe 13th, maybe, or 12th. I don't think we'll move down even if we lose that much. And the highest we can finish for the season is 11th if we get the win on the weekend, which would be very nice. Just to quickly cover injuries, I don't believe there was any injuries to come of that game. I did hear a whisper that Filippo was a little bit sore, pulled up a bit sore during the game, and is sort of touch and go for this game. So obviously we can see the teams now. There is an extended bench for both teams, and Filippo is still an in. I'd imagine we'll give him the next 24 to 48 hours to just test himself, maybe do a fitness test and see how he goes. But if there's any, niggle, I wouldn't play him, not for the final game, not someone like him that has had his injury problems all season. What do you reckon, boys? What are your thoughts on the ins? We've got Isaac Keeler, Carroll, and Liam O'Connell.
I've got my little list of our comparison between last time we played them in round 5 and current.
Yep.
If we wanted. Yeah, so obviously it's a bit harder to tell with the extended bench there, but Keeler is one of the ins there, and Taru and Boxall are the ins compared to round 5. And we've got Webster, Burns, and Mitch Owens was the other difference there. Which I still rate looking forward. I think we're maybe missing Owens in that mix instead of Keeler potentially, but it's still a positive comparison compared to last time.
I wonder if the Keeler inclusion might be in preparation for Filippo not playing and just going pretty tall in the forward half with Sharman, Dodson, Keeler, and then obviously Marshall in the ruck, and rotating Keeler, Dodson, and Marshall in a way. Might be a glimpse into next year as well. That could be part of their thinking.
There's Keeler's listed at full forward. He's not listed on the bench either, so that would lead you to believe that even though there's extended bench, that he'll get the call up. And I don't mind the sound of maybe giving McRae a rest for the last week, because O'Connell's been playing inside mid at Sandy, and I think from what I've seen, he's been performing pretty well. So it wouldn't be a bad shout for the last week to give him a run through the midfield.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Where we got Mason Wood on the wing, Hugh Boxall listed in the center, which is great. Jack Steele, Marcus Winhager followers. Naz, I mean, he's listed at half back, but I can't imagine he'll play
how
there.
long?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, if he wants to, he can. It's just very much, what side of the bed does he wake up on? Does he feel like he wants to be the GOAT today? Does he just want to get a 9 out of 10 game in, 2 Brownlow votes, 3? It's up to him, really, what he wants to do. But overall, I don't mind the balance of the team. I'm curious. I don't think Jack Carroll has got a contract for next year, if I'm not mistaken. I know Keeler and O'Connell yesterday were announced, with a couple of others like Dougal Howard and Liam Stocker that got a year. But Jack Carroll, I don't believe, has a contract. So maybe this game could be huge just for him.
Yeah, probably Jack depends Carroll. How hard we want to go in the off-season.
He's an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year.
Yeah. So it's a bit lying on that game for him. Let's go through the outs. I mean, there's no outs. Who do you think, if there were outs, would be in the firing line for the final side tomorrow when it comes out at 5?
Obviously, it's a bit hard to tell with the extended bench, but I am a bit worried about seeing Dodson in the mix there and later in the list. Obviously, he didn't have quite the Dodzilla performance that we were hoping for against the Bombers, but I think dropping a debutant is always a risky thing to go with. Giving them a couple games at least, I feel is healthier, both in the mental aspect of the game, but also just getting them up to the pace. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays on that emergency list, but I think it would be a bit of a shame.
I thought Dodson was quite competitive in at least the first quarter. I think he was benched for a lot of the second, but he didn't have quite a lot of game time either. He was involved when he was around the ball. He was going in hard for it. Ended up at full back at one point. So yeah, I don't think it would be not a smart idea, but if we're investing in the future, why not keep him in the side?
I thought he looked promising, to be honest. I think he took a good mark at half forward flank, kicked it inside 50, and I think Mason Wood maybe took the mark. It was a nice kick, and then the one coming in where I think someone missed. I think Filippo misjudged it, went under it, and it landed in Dodson's lap. Had a shot. I think he kicked it behind with his first kick in football, but and he found himself in the goal square at the opposite end, getting a handball receive under immense pressure and dealing with it. So I actually thought he looked pretty good, to be honest. I'm trying to find exactly how much game time he played, because it feels like he played less than like 35 minutes on field, to be honest.
Yeah.
He subbed out pretty early. And I reckon this would be a good game for him, because that is a tall back line that they've got there with Buckley coming back in. I imagine Leake will be forward, but with Iden, Himmelberg, Taylor, and Buckley all in that back line, it's we got to push that a little bit as far as our forward height goes. So having the 204 centimeter man makes sense to me.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. He had fun fact. He had 8 disposals from 48% game time. So he actually played pretty much half the game. I didn't think he was on for that long. I don't know if that was time on ground. 48%. It's much higher than I actually.
All right numbers though.
Thought it was.
For a ruck.
Yeah. 8 disposals, 3 kicks, 5 handballs, 2 marks, 1 behind, 75% disposal efficiency and intercept. 2 score involvements, which is quite nice. 2 marks and 1 inside 50 with 3 pressure acts at a whopping 75 meters gained. Obviously, he's a ruckman. That's not his game plan. But and 17 ruck contests overall for 2 hit outs. That's not bad for a first game in half a game, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go to the mids. What do you reckon, Evan? What did you see from the Essendon game that was good? What did you see that you want to see improved going into this game? Because we are playing one of the best midfields in the competition, at least going into attack. I still think we can get them the other way if they're just, they're just a bit too happy running ahead of the ball. But what did you take from Friday night?
Yeah, the Giants have been pretty one-sided at times, only looking forward. But there are a couple of tough players in there, particularly Green. Well, both the Greens. As far as our midfield goes against the Bombers, you can't love it too much considering how many free goes the Bombers had of it. But I reckon there were some exciting moments with Garcia and Windy and some really clean handball chains that looked really exciting. Some proper ball movement that felt really fluid. It wasn't all the time, that's for sure. But there were definitely some highlights throughout there that make me a bit excited about the style of movement we're going. I do think there was probably a bit of pressure we were missing out on there, mainly, and it's full team defense, but McGrath and Redmond both getting 35 plus disposals off sort of half-back midfield time. You can't be letting clean exits like that happen so much, particularly because they were pretty efficient. So there's a bit of team defense and transition that needs a lot of work there.
Yeah, I feel like as well as that, our delivery inside 50 is still quite poor. It doesn't help that we're, a couple of key forwards short, especially once Dodson got subbed out. But that doesn't mean we just bomb it in like we have been doing. You've still got to try and find another way to make it work. We were able to score, I suppose, not with ease, and with enough ease to take the win. But we worked really hard for a few of our goals. So it'd be nice I feel like there's a lack of going when we need to go and slowing down when we need to slow down. I feel like we get that wrong quite often. So I think it's just about taking our options. Taking the right option when it presents itself.
Yeah, that could come down to just inexperience, playing a young side as well. I mean, that's something that I guess I didn't even realize going into the game. I guess we all get sucked into while we're playing the Bombers. They've got all their injuries. You kind of forget about the team you're fielding, and you're like, we should just belt them by 10 goals. And then you look at our list, and we had 11 players under the age of 22, which is incredibly exciting. And even Ross said on the agenda setters, well, people think we should be flogging them, but if you look at the facts, it's pretty much level almost. And I guess that has been the case with the last 4 weeks, hasn't it? That we've fielded a team, at least in terms of age and experience, very similar to the opposition, and we've won. We've found a way every single time. You can't discount that, can you?
Yeah,
No.
and there's a couple of teams.
There you go.
Sorry, you go. There's a couple of teams in that similar age bracket to us. Obviously, Ross brings it up quite often. Your Bombers, your Richmond being older than us, but I think even with ladder position, if we can get the win this week and just really clearly make a distinction between, the 4 that are fighting for finals and the rest of the bottom of the ladder, because there has been such a clear distinction between the competitors and everyone else this year. And I know where I'd rather be slotted in. And if we can bring a young squad and still be competing, that's much more exciting than just giving games to players.
Yeah, 100%. And even our form before the 4-game winning streak, before the new DVD comes out and we can watch those games again, we had 6 losses, right? We had 6 losses. The worst was obviously the Bulldogs, but that was the very first one. But then after that, we played some excellent, probably better football and more, I guess, full game performances, 3 to 4 quarter performances in these games, and we didn't come out with the win. And I like that a lot of Saints fans that I've spoken to are even more bullish based on that type of St Kilda than the one that has actually been getting the chocolates the last 4 weeks. We played Hawthorn, we were good. We played Collingwood, we had them, 10 points with 10 minutes to go or something. We were leading Fremantle and they just went berserk in 10 minutes and won the game. Away, mind you, Geelong, we gave up the first 5 goals, but really fought it out. I'm probably missing another game. Sydney, where Goulden kicked it with 2 minutes to go. We should have won that game. There's two games or even 3 games out of that stretch that I think give us another 12 months of experience, bring in some other players and just, naturally just grow internally. You're going to be winning some of these games. So Giants are in that ilk, right? They're in that zone of those top teams that we actually lifted to play against. So I'm excited to see if we do that again, because we kind of play to the level, I think, at least, of who we're versing. So, I mean, last time out, we played the Giants. We started like a house on fire, I remember, and then they just went up a notch, but we couldn't quite go with them.
Yeah, and there's a portion of media and St Kilda fans that aren't taking into account these games that we're talking about now in terms of our performance for the season. You look at the result and you go, oh, it's a loss by 30 points or 20 points, whatever. But that doesn't necessarily show how well we played in those games because, like you said, teams get a run on and then it looks worse than it actually was. So I think there's a lot to take out of it, especially when we were starting to introduce the younger guys into the side, like Taru debuted around there. I can't remember which game it was exactly, if it was Collingwood or before that, but it might have been Hawthorn he debuted. But he
debuted it against Fremantle, didn't he? Oh no, Collingwood, and then Fremantle. He had all the spoils. So yeah.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Jan says, audition for Aaliyah. We're going to be on Aaliyah watch. Actually, we'll be on TDK watch tonight and Aaliyah watch on Sunday. We'll just be celebrating every Naz possession and then every Aaliyah spoil, I suppose. I don't know. I want to win the game, so I'd prefer Sharman kicks 5 on him if he plays on him. I think that's still fine because I think people look at players from other clubs and think, you're getting that player and they're just going to play the same way in your system without taking into account the type of game plan that Ross will set him up to play, the role he'll play, the players that are around him, all that sort of thing. Like Matt Kennedy, for instance, has been absolutely sublime at the Dogs. He was good for Carlton, but he wasn't this good, and he's playing better with better players around him. So, I think that having players like Aaliyah come across will be super exciting for the club. But that's for next year. Yep.
Oh, keep in mind that Jack Buckley and James Leake are listed as in, so they're two key defenders. So there's a chance that Aaliyah doesn't even play.
That would be hilarious, just to park it for the game. In terms of the forwards, we kind of alluded to it, but that is probably our biggest Achilles heel, and probably one reason why I mentioned we competed against a lot of these good teams, but we couldn't quite get the job done. There's probably all of that good work up the ground in defense. We couldn't capitalize when the ball actually went inside 50. And that's something clearly we're going to be addressing with, Max King hopefully returning. There's links to players like Liam Ryan, whether you like him or you hate him. I think it's a need anyway. It's a player that can take a mark and kick a goal. We need more of them. What did you think of the forward line last week? Obviously, we didn't kick the biggest score, but fun fact, we've outscored Collingwood in the last 6 weeks. I didn't know that. But there you go.
Although the Collingwood forward line isn't particularly flying at the moment either. And I think
that's true.
They've got one of the biggest examples of a player coming into their unit and not meshing, with Dan Houston's performance this year. So it can go both ways a bit. But I was really not on board with the Liam Ryan move initially. I think I'm coming around to it, particularly after watching the game, because I think we need to find a bit of balance in our forward line at the moment. A couple of weeks back, we were talking about, last week we were talking about just how many players could go into a centre bounce. Like we had 12 or 13 players that throughout this year have gone into a centre bounce. And at the start of the year, we were talking about Max Hall finally being a midfielder that's kicking goals sporadically, sort of thing. But looking at this game, I felt like we were maybe missing a couple of specific forward pressure goal scoring targets that stayed down there the whole time and were really active in that area, which I'm sort of biting my words a little bit from what I was saying. We need people moving between the midfield and forward. Now I'm saying that's a great experiment. We're missing Butler, sort of thing. We're missing Collard. We're missing that player that's just in the forward line to keep the pressure in, to stop McGrath from getting 35 or Redmond 35 in the back line and hopefully kick to themselves. Higgins can't do it all himself.
No, not at all. I thought Collard was actually quite good when he came on. He looked a little reinvigorated, I guess, from the last couple of games that he's played. And similar to what you're saying, Evan, I thought the main thing for the forward line was the pressure seemed down. Aside from Jack Higgins, I don't know. I felt like I saw him pressuring the Bombers players when they were deep inside defensive 50. So I didn't really see anyone else putting in that effort, especially against a team like the Bombers who have such a high turnover rate on average. They were quite low last week. So I feel like that probably inhibited our scoring ability because we weren't pushing as high up on them in our forward line. It let them get it out and move the ball a little bit easier.
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge focus this week because we know that the Giants rebound off D50 better than most teams, probably are the best in doing that. So I don't mind that. Give Collard a chance, get Higo a couple more snags, get over the 50 goal mark. And then, see what happens in the off season. But obviously Max Hall and these sort of players can rotate through there. We've played Filippo down there. That hasn't worked. I would not want to persist with that. If he's fit, he plays in the midfield. And if he's not fit, he doesn't rest forward. He just doesn't play. Give him the week off. Give him the preseason and get his body right. I think if we can get the forward line humming, the midfield, I think, is starting to really come together, as we've talked about. And then obviously we'll jump into the back line now to round it out. I think the back line is very similar to the midfield in that we're discovering a few players along the way. Taru's come in, Caminiti, we're going to get Aaliyah. There might be a few others in there. In terms of obviously Cal Wilkie, we've given Dougal Howard another year, which is great. I think he's still very valuable and will play a part next season. And that's I think that's building into quite a strong backline as well. So, what do you guys think of the backline at the moment? How do you see it against the Bombers?
I think Caminiti still seems to look a little bit like a fish out of water to me. Like, I don't mind him playing in defence, but I feel like since the inclusion of Taru, I sort of just see Caminiti jump up with a fist in the air every single time. When he's such a good overhead mark, I think he can clunk a lot of them, especially the contested ones. So I think Ross said that moving forward that they want to play Caminiti up forward. But there's that, and I felt like it's not only the defense, but the team defense. I felt like the zone wasn't really working last week. It felt like they were sort of picking through it really easily, and I'm fairly sure they had quite a high marks stat throughout the game. I don't know that for certain, but their ball movement just seemed so easy up the ground. And they had a lot of inside 50s, so they had quite a few chances, and we defended them well. But the sort of up the ground team defense just didn't work for whatever reason. So I think it's a good thing that our actual back six is being quite there's been quite a bit of continuity this year because it helps them mesh. And although there's guys like Sinclair and Naz that have run through the midfield, we haven't had too much chopping and changing like we have in the past.
Yeah, I'd agree with that almost across the board. I think we've mentioned a couple times this year games where individually the backs have been great, but just maybe not worked in the team defense so much, and that's fallen away against the really dangerous forward lines. Still, I think we're lucky to have them playing the way they are, and particularly Wilkie, because we kept them to, I think it was about 46 inside 50 efficiency compared to our 67. So anytime you're keeping them below 50, you're going to be happy with your backline to a certain extent. So there's a bit of that. I do hope we get out of this game with no injuries to the backline in particular, so they can just have the full pre-season to mesh together to work on that team defense, so that if Caminiti needs to stay back there, if we're bringing a new face like Aaliyah in, and you got Taru settling in, they can actually mesh together for a whole 2 months before we start again, so that both the individual performance and the team defense works together.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why we saw, and I wanted to see Dukes get an extra year anyway. I know he hasn't played at all really this season, but I still think that's Ross saying there's still a little bit of work there. I'm not too sure who's going to be a permanent back. I'm not too sure who's going to be a permanent forward. I think Taru's going to be a forward, but now we're saying Caminiti might be forward. So I still think that maybe next year we'll see Aaliyah, it wouldn't surprise me, Aaliyah, Howard, Wilkie in some sort of, and then with maybe one of Taru or Caminiti at either end. I think there might be a bit more to play out there, but it's a good problem to have depth in pretty much all of those key positions, because we haven't had it. I wouldn't mind another tall forward just as a backup to King, instead of relying on Marshall or Sharman or Owens if King goes down again. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I just think maybe if there's a tall in the draft at the back end, maybe we just sneak it and get someone in, I think that'd be quite handy.
There's probably a bit of that, but there's probably also where we throw in the TDK name as well, and the potential for the Marshall TDK pair up rotating through the forward line. Something that struck me this year in particular is obviously we need a forward that doesn't have too much injury issue for no particular reason. And TDK this year has been pretty banged up. Like, he is strapped to the nth degree sort of thing. But I think there's a bit of a Carlton effect there as well, though, because he is doing so much by himself. If you look at Paddy Cripps, you look at TDK, and they're just bandages on every single joint. And I think that's part of them having to go all at it and be a very physical game. So I was thinking about it and thinking about TDK coming into our squad potentially. I think he'd have a few less issues being in our mix.
If he runs out
and
round one and he's got nothing, like no strapping on his shoulders, nothing, like, and even King, if King runs out and he's got no strapping on a knee, nothing on the shoulders, I'll be like, this is heaven. This is not real, you know?
Yeah, and helps with that they probably, or from what I'm hearing, they're gonna get rid of the sub and make it 5 on the bench. So it makes rotations for big guys a whole lot easier, and it means they
Yeah.
don't just have to rest forward and take someone else's spot the whole time.
Yeah, so it could be an absolute masterclass. They might even be changing the ruck rules as well, and Tom will be able to run and jump and use his leap. That's elite compared to a lot of other ruckmen. You know, only he and Jackson really have that spring in their step to dominate the other ruckmen. So if those rules change as well, and he can do that, I think it's no doubt that's gone into this. You know, St Kilda's thinking on where this list can go. So I'm fully backing what they're doing at the moment. I think we should all be pretty excited. Let's go back to the Oppo view. I guess we talk about the Giants for a little bit because this is the teams. As much as we want to talk about Naz and the future and what it holds, we can do that at the end as well to celebrate the final show of the year. But Oppo view, Evan, you've got Callahan and Whitfield as the sort of key targets to shut down.
Yeah. When they're moving quick, they are such a dangerous team going to that forward line, whether they've got Hogan or not. Particularly Callahan, he just opens up their entire speed through the corridor. So I'm not saying a tag, but you've got to be able to put body on him straight away so he doesn't just, eat up 20 meters. This is the same way that you'd expect with Naz going straight through the corridor or running, taking 3 bounces. And then Whitfield, either him or Ash slashed us last time. So got to make sure that halfback isn't crazy. They'll still be playing really hard for this one. This isn't the end of the season. Well, for them, I believe they can still get knocked out if we won by enough.
I think if we win by 100, I think so. They're on 60. The Suns are on 56, obviously with an extra game. So say they win those two, that's 64. We would have to, So say the Dogs beat Fremantle.
Freo play the Dogs, so I don't think anyone above them can drop out.
So Freo's percentage is 108, Giants is 115, and the Dogs is 56, obviously to play, and 140.
So I believe if the Dogs beat Freo, Dogs jump over GWS. If the Suns win both of those, they jump over GWS. And then if we knocked enough percentage off the Giants, they could still potentially come 9th, which, not saying that's the likely outcome, but they'll be playing as though it is.
The Dogs would have to not flog Fremantle, but still beat them. And we would have to we would have to win by over 100 points because it's 7% currently difference. So say the Dogs win by a point, it's still about 7%. Yeah. So we would have to knock over 8% off the Giants to knock them out, which would be kind of crazy. It'd be a nice way to end the season.
I think what you're talking about is the main thing is that they've still got something to play for, and I think that's nothing to sneeze at. Like they'll have players still that aren't contracted in their side, and they'll be preparing for a final. They could still finish top 4 as well. So it's important, I think, that we don't just walk into the game thinking it's going to be a chilled out, sort of round 24, nothing to play for, dead rubber game, because there is something to play for, especially for the Giants. So for the Saints, I think it's important that, there will be some guys that are still auditioning for next year. Like if Jones plays, I'm not sure. I think most of the guys that are actually on the list, they're a contract, other than Carroll, maybe if he gets a run. But I think it's cool if we can be the party spoilers again, because Giants still can play top 4, which is massive. If other results go their way, they wouldn't finish second because Geelong's percentage is too high, but they could still finish 3rd or 4th.
Yeah. Would Windhager put his hand up and say, "Yeah, I'm taking out Callahan. I got this"?
Could. Confident.
He definitely could. I reckon he'd really tire him out and keep him accountable within the contest and stop him from being able to get that run going. I do like having seen Windy have a bit of free reign the last little while. He's racking up disposals. He's been really efficient. So there's a little bit of the Richmond school of we're going to play our own game and we might lose, but at least we'll learn some stuff. That I feel the same way about Windy. But saying that, he could do a plenty good job against Callaghan.
Yeah. I think that's the next step for him is to, when we're playing those teams, he can be the leader and say, I'm going to sacrifice a bit of my game to shut him down, and you boys get to work. Naz, you get to work. Steely, you get to work. Boxall, Garcia, you get to work. And then when there's, probably not that, we're not playing a midfield quite like that, then he can just play his game and obviously be as damaging as he is on the attack, as he is defending as well. So, Ollie, you've pretty much just said the Giants are stacked all over the ground. Nice, very specific point there that you've put. Strong all over the ground. What do we do then?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes it tough because they've got 2 or 3 guys in every line that really stand out. Not all teams have that. And even though they're going to play finals, but they're not, setting the world on fire at the moment. Like you said before, Whitfield and Ash off halfback is dangerous because they're such great users of the ball. Their midfield stacked, like we're just talking about. Cadman's been having a great season as a young key forward. Toby Green, Brent Daniels, these guys, it's such a hard team to play against because I feel like they are just stacked. So, I think like you said before, the Windy potential tag could be big in throwing off their mindset. So if we can get, not under their skin, but if we can kill their confidence, I think more so than anything else. Because if we try to go at them and play in a, shootout sort of game, I think they'll get over the top of us. But got to shore up the defense. No Hogan, like you were talking about, makes it seem like, it's doable to be able to defend these guys a little bit better than we could on another week. So shore up the defense and then, try and get in their heads a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's it could well be the perfect sort of final game of our season in a way. We had that patch. We played a lot of top teams. We competed well. We got the 4-game winning streak in. The kids grew in confidence every single week, despite the margin being tight. You still grow in confidence the more wins you rack up in a row, right? It doesn't matter if it's 100 points or you win 20 games in a row by 1 point on the final siren. It's still a win, and you've still mentally somehow pushed through adversity late in a game that you could have easily buckled and lost. So I think that's a key point. And I think it's good to see our boys take on a team that's going to play finals now. Imagine this was just us against North. You don't really know no disrespect at all, but it's a bit different this week because if we put in a good shift, say we don't win, but we're very competitive and we've just done what we did against Geelong and Hawthorn and Fremantle and Collingwood and whatnot, we're still going to be very bullish at the final siren. We're still going to be stoked. We'll all be, very excited to just fast forward and get to round 1, 2026. I'd say that's a fair assessment.
100%.
I reckon.
Yeah. Key to winning. This is big. And put in the comments as well, everyone watching. There's over 178 of you, so thank you very much. And thank you to Marine Josh. Is that $2.99? Thank you very much. I'm going to put that to the Harley Reid fund, and no doubt we'll get him over the line. That would be unreal, by the way, if we just had a little sneaky Harley Reid play behind the scenes. Who knows? Key to winning. I feel like we covered a bit of that in the Oppo view. It's very much stopping their run, stopping their guns. I think Toby Green, he killed us last time, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think did he have 4? But I think his around the ground stuff was pretty intense.
Yeah, so he's one to watch because he's that rare type that can kick 4 or 5, but also go into the midfield and have 30 and be as damaging and set up.
Last time
5? Yeah.
Damn.
So he's probably my main player to stop. As much as I love Whitfield and Callaghan, and they use the ball really well, I still think defensively they're vulnerable the other way. If we can be aggressive enough and use the ball well, that's the sticking point. If our pressure's good and we're turning it over and we're getting it off them quickly, it means nothing if we butcher it again. I don't want it to be a slingshot turnover game where they make a mistake. We've put on, we're at halftime, it's 50 tackles to 15 our way. Our pressure's at 200 and we're 4 goals down because when we got the ball, blood rushed to our head and we just freaked. We just didn't know what was going on. I don't want to be just chasing all day. We need to have composure when we get the ball. So that's probably my key to winning is as much as we can stop them, to when we get the ball, how quickly and how efficiently can we hurt them?
Yeah, exactly. And I felt like last week we seemed to be a little too, I think I spoke about it briefly earlier, but a little too chippy, just kind of kicking the ball around. And sometimes we just needed to go and we weren't taking those opportunities. And in a game like this against a quality opposition, if you don't take those opportunities, they'll end up punishing you if you move the ball too slowly and just then bomb it down the wing. So, yeah, I think my key to winning is probably using more of our run that we know we can use. We've seen it in the last few weeks. Just go when you get the opportunity and take the game on.
Yeah, we saw that very much against Hawthorn, didn't we? We took the game on. We were in it, but it was probably one of our worst games at converting inside 50. I think Naz kicked 3 points? He could have kicked 3 or 4. He missed a couple on the run. It's those sort of games where you look back and go, on another day, a bit more composure, you probably win it. So 100%, this is a very similar game in that way.
Yeah, 100%. I think to put specific names to it, if we're running through the midfield and Windy does a great job of making Callaghan turn it over, we do a great handball chain and then bomb it into the forward line. There is no world where we're able to consistently mark over Buckley, Taylor, and Himmelberg, with Aaliyah flying through there as well. Like, as the list as it stands right now, we don't win that contest. So, as you say, using that speed on ball, the plays where it's Naz running off the wing and getting a dart to Max Hall 40 out, like that's the kind of way that we can approach it to get past their backline, because right now they can intercept anything. Yeah,
I see it as very, if you remember the Port game when we came out of the blocks, I think it was round 4. That's the type of football that will win us this game, especially that first half. And it was very much just hitting any target that is within 45 meters in the forward line, whether it's a mid resting there. It's not just focused on who are the forwards and where are they. It's also using the forwards as a bit of a decoy and having, Max Hall pop up, Sinclair pop up, Steely can rest forward if he wants. And these sort of guys as well to, if you're getting, 6 or 7 goals from your mids on top of hopefully some good output from your forwards, you're in the game. We can't be like, Sharman's not going to kick 6. I mean, mate, who knows? But it's very unlikely. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have a Cadman or Hogan type player at the moment to win us a game off his own boot. But hopefully next year we will. Is this in regards to... Is that Harley Reid?
Harley, yeah.
3 firsts?
We can trade our next year's pick now.
Go
1 year in advance.
Yeah,
I still... I might eat my words down the track, but I still can't fathom the amount of free kicks he's given away at the moment. That headspace doesn't feel like the kind of thing you need.
Yeah.
It's the wrong kind of competitiveness. I'm sure he'll be a grand finalist, Brownlow guy in 6 years' time, and it'll be like Dusty or something. But right now, if he was, barking at Windy and Naz, I don't know if that's a cultural thing that you really need within a midfield group or a team.
He is playing in a mess of a team though, so it's hard to gauge. It's like people judging Liam Ryan's last 2 or 3 years. It's like he's kind of he's been in a struggling team that's won like 2 games. Like, if you look at his stats when they win, he's a big factor in that. But then obviously you look at when they lose and he's quiet. But playing as a small forward in a struggling team, I'd say that's one of the hardest positions on the ground. The ball's not getting there. Your tools aren't competing. I feel like that'd be a nightmare. We see the difference with Higgins. When we're on, he's absolutely one of the best smalls in the game. When we're off, he can't do much, but it's not even his fault.
No. You're right.
Let's go through a couple of comments before we get into the tips. Yep. Naz will be 100% our starting mid going into next year. Yeah, I'd love Toby Green. That would have been nice. I think he's a bit too old now, isn't he, Toby?
Yeah,
30?
probably coming to the twilight. He's still performing well, but probably not worth going for at this point.
Yeah.
No,
one club.
Let's become a Hanbury.
Nah, he hasn't really had any injury problems, has he, Toby? Not from memory. It's more suspensions. It's not injuries. You know. All right, let's go. Let's go into some tips, and then we'll have some general discussion with the comments. Who are we tipping and why? Or how much?
Do we want positivity or?
I want real.
Yeah, it depends which way you want to go.
It's a final game.
You go, then you go. You go.
Well, last week was probably the first time that I really said Saints by a significant margin. But anyway, we still got the win. No, I'm always the pessimist here. I can't look at these lists right now and say that we match up in the key one-on-ones in a way that gives us the win. I'm going to say Giants by 2 goals. They just need it too much. They need that home final too much. So I'm gonna say it's them. But I reckon we can give a real good fight if we don't play to their strengths. Because a couple times this year we've stared at a Tom Stewart or someone like that and gone, "You're really great at intercepting," and kicked it straight to them. Please don't do that so that we're competitive. But I still reckon they've got it.
Interesting. I don't mind it. I think we'd all, as St Kilda fans, be happy with just a good fight and a good effort. If we go down by a few points or a couple of goals in a close one, I feel like that's not the worst outcome. I'd be interested to know how many you've got right and wrong this year, Evan, considering you're a self-proclaimed pessimist. Like, however many games we've won for the year is how many I've got right, because I've picked us every single week. But maybe bar one. I reckon it'll be close, though. I see us in good form, coming up against a better side than the last few weeks. Giants coming off a good win against Gold Coast, and I think we'll continue our streak. We won our last 4 by 21 points combined, and I think we'll get up by 4 points this week.
Our record with I think under 10 points this season is 5-1, I believe, which is
pretty good.
And the Giants, I think the Giants were the only team undefeated, 4-0 under 10 points. So these two teams have played in quite a few tight games and usually get the chocolates.
Yeah, it's good practice for that. We've mentioned just learning how to win a couple times this year, and that's definitely one of those. Yeah, I wanted to bring up this one from Marine Josh here. I think the Rowan Marshall free kicks against are a different ballpark than the Harley Reid ones, because the ruck rigmarole this year of free kicks going around. You look at that list and like most free kicks for and most free kicks against, like 3/4 of them are rucks. Really hoping they can tidy up some of that in the off-season with the new department heads, because that's not really helping the look of the game. It's just been messy.
What he's just pointing out. I mean, it is important to win those close games. Look at Collingwood a couple of years back. Just build that winning mentality.
Exactly. They won a grand final just based on winning finals by, what was it? The total amount of the finals they won was like less than 15 points or something like that for all 3 games.
Yeah. Look, my tip is I don't give a shit. I just want Naz to poll 3 Brownlow votes. I just want him to poll 3 because he could genuinely win that. And I want him to have an enormous game. I don't care what the margin is, Sainers. I want Naz to have an absolute blinder. Give him the ball at every opportunity. 40. Woody knows he's going to break meters gained record. I think he needs 670, if I'm not mistaken. So give him the ball, 40 possessions, 2 goals, 3 votes. We move on.
Like if you go through all our wins, I feel like he's been best on. So I don't mind the Brownlow shout from you there. I think you'd be close. You'll be a bit of a dark horse.
I went through, and I'll do a video on it closer to the Brownlow where I go through every single game and I essentially try and pick what he gets. But I think there's some games early in the season that people would think he doesn't get votes in, but I'm pretty confident he will sneak a lot of 1s and 2s early. And if he's up to that 10 vote mark by the first Melbourne game when we win, I had him at around 27, 28 votes going into this game.
Okay.
So I think he's absolutely in with the shout. And that's why I think if Dacos doesn't do much for Collingwood this week, and, Dawson and these guys have hopefully not huge games, and Naz just does what he does, I think then he's absolutely a shout, and the Brownlow watch along will be firmly on.
Well, and you think about how he's been in the news so much and so spoken about in the media. So the umpires, I feel like, would remember that more, and they'll be looking out for him a little more because they speak about him more often than ever before. So, like you say, come the first Melbourne game when people really started seeing how talented he was, and the contract talk started heating up, and the Willie stay, Willie go sort of started going around. Umpires will be looking out for him a whole lot more than before.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think he's got that aura about him. As much as I hate using that word, he does have it. I just feel like he could have a quiet game, but if he does one of those pirouettes on the boundary and has 4 running bounces and hits a target inside 50, that's automatically at least one Brownlow vote. Like it'll just be burnt in the umpire's brain. I can't believe Naz did that. He's the best player on the planet. 1 vote. And he probably has 15 touches and that's it, but he just jumps out. So I'm very bullish about Naz. Bedford, yeah, that's a good call. Bedford might try and tag him, but yeah, absolutely good luck because he'll just go play forward at that point. He'll go to the goal square. That's what I love about him. There's no one tagger that can tag at halfback in the midfield in the contest and as a defender. He's the best hybrid player in the competition. We can actually say good things about him now without being worried, boys. How good is it? It's the first time.
Yeah.
Weight off the shoulders.
Without saying good things, and then that followed up by, isn't Adelaide going to win the next 4 premierships because of him kind of thing? No.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect. And
yeah, they've had their own sort of issues, I guess, this week. So I thought it was quite interesting. We dropped the news this week as well to have the complete parallel, but I think that might be it. Unless anyone in the comments has got a question for the boys before we finish up for the year. This is the final team show. So thank you very much for tuning in, everyone, every single week on a Thursday night. Wilkie a lock for All Australian. What do we think?
I reckon.
I think Naz and him are locks.
He'll absolutely be in the squad. If he's not in the 22, then I think that's devaluing what he does for our squad. There's another one there, about 7 months of no Saints footy. There's always the W. I was down at RSEA on the weekend for the game, and that was a lot of fun. I did not go down thinking we were going to get the win, if I'm honest, against Adelaide for the first time, and that was a great watch. Saw myself on the screen a couple of times. It was really good fun afterwards as well. Not often you get to sing the song down at RSEA, and we're actually looking really, really quick, really tough, and a really good squad this year.
Yeah, get around the girls, 100%. I've got my membership and get down to as many as possible. So, it's only getting better, and especially the Saints are only getting better year after year. So definitely get down and get around them.
I'm guessing guys referring to Buku Kamis, who supposedly is linked to us. I have not heard anything myself. I know maybe CJ from Hawthorn could be one we could be looking at, but what are we thoughts on Buku as a potential player incoming?
I think he's fine as a defender. I really liked what he did as a forward when they tested him out there for a little while there. So he is flexible to a certain degree. Would be good depth player. Where maybe that might continue to fit into the idea that we've got a whole bunch of B and C graders and not necessarily the A graders. Like you're fighting with Sharman, Owens, Buku, and a whole bunch of other names in the forward line. But he's a versatile player, as Guy says.
Where's this Justin? GWS get Windy signed. No.
I like it.
I'm still very confident, as I was with Naz. I said it all the way through. I'm tipping he signs for 2 years, and he did. I'm thinking Windy, 3-year deal. I think that'll hopefully get done in there. I'd like to think in the next week would be nice, right? We don't want to go into the trade period or post. I don't want to get post grand final where he's still not signed. Surely that won't happen.
Get the bombos out early, I reckon.
Yeah.
All his mates are staying at the club. He's a local boy. He's getting opportunities through the midfield. He's playing great. I don't know how we haven't sealed that, but we got the Naz stuff out of the way. The management team can just focus on him now.
Yeah, I
did hear that he moved out of the house with Mitch Owens and Naz. So whatever that means, I don't know. But I don't know if that means something or he's just moving on to something else. But yeah.
Nah, I think that's all a bit of BS, to be honest. I think he's a big boy. He can live on his own place, right? You know, he can buy his own place now. He's old enough.
That's agenda setters style.
Motion
reading.
Yeah. We've got Tom Morris, Tommy Morris over here, making up some headlines. Choco Williams to help Goddard with the new VFL team. I mean, that'd be handy. Get Ken Hinkley to coach the VFL team.
Not bad.
That'd be stacked.
Yeah.
He's good at. I mean, because he's finishing up at Melbourne now. Marine is asking whose time is coming to an end. So is there anyone that's playing in this game? We've got the teams up on the screen still. Anyone playing in this game that this will be their last game of AFL football? As harsh as that is the reality for some players at this time of season. Is there anyone that we're looking at in that St Kilda team that you think won't be picked up, may be delisted, or just finish up entirely?
Our favorite player of the year, the super sub, Zach Jones.
Yep.
I reckon.
Would be my only guess. As you mentioned earlier, Jack Carroll hasn't really fought his way into the squad throughout. I've liked what I've seen. I'd give him a year, but, he is in a space to move on. I reckon there'd be at least 6 teams trying to grab Jack Carroll as unrestricted free agent. So he'll find a place to play again. But Jones might be playing for the Mansfield Eagles in about 6 months.
Mansfield Eagles.
That's my local.
I was going to say, just drop the local team.
Yeah, I can't imagine there'd be anyone else, really. I think I'd like to think Steely plays out his career at St Kilda in some capacity. Maybe not as captain, but I think that'll be Cal Wilkie. But I think Steely won't go. And hopefully Roll Marshall's the other one. I absolutely want to retain him. He is contracted, so that's the good thing. And Ross made that very clear. Contracted players, it needs to suit us. It needs to benefit us. So if Geelong want him, well, we'll take a first-round pick or something of that, which they won't. They won't do that. So I'd imagine Roll Marshall will stick around and hopefully we'll have a pretty big stacked forward line next year. Imagine round 1 against Port Adelaide, Saturday night at Marvel. It's written in the stars to have a big one. Yeah.
There's 40 touches, 2 goals.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Is that gonna be your off season, boys? Just daydreaming about what could be in the next 6 to 7 months?
Pretty much
My
just rewatching
and during the season.
Just watching the Geelong game every day for the next 6 months, I reckon. They're not the first one, not the second one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a ripper game. That's probably game of the year. Oh, actually, no, the Melbourne game, obviously. Quarter of the year. Let's end it on this. Who is captain for 2026? He's asking Matt. I think it'll be Cal Wilkie.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
Yeah.
I'd like Wilkie to be main captain with about a 3-year timeline on some of the young guns coming through. In 3 years, we look at Windy, Naz, even Garcia. I love the way Garcia approaches the game. Philippou, that sort of thing.
It could be Naz could be in the leadership group next season. Absolutely, I think.
Oh,
Windy could be. Windy could be. Who else? I think Sinks will probably still be in there. Steely might even just be in the leadership group. I don't think they'll demote him completely. I still think if he plays, maybe he is in the leadership group. Vice captain. Who would be vice captain? That's a good call.
I'd go
maybe
Rowe.
it is. You go Rowe?
Yeah.
That's not a bad call.
Rowe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roma? TDK maybe. What do you reckon?
I
I can't get too cocky because these, it's just us to, get clipped, get too confident, and then TDK is like, you know what, I'm staying.
Yeah.
Windy Vice. Yeah, I mean, if we're not, I don't think so. Not just yet. Sinks. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. But it's good to, I think we've got more leadership now on field than we have for a long time, especially in the outside of the captain, vice captain department. You've got Owens, Windy. Garcia loves fighting with other opposition players that get stuck into his teammates. Naz does too, which I love. He's not against a little jumper punch. Even Taru last week, just see him belt just belt the Essendon bloke after he got the free kick. He's not afraid to throw his weight around. So, absolutely in a very good position there. But on that note, let's wrap it up. We've got what game is it tonight? Essendon Carlton. Merritt's 250th, TDK's 100th, and potentially final game at Carlton. Who are we tipping for that?
Oh God,
Draw?
the umpires.
Draw?
Yeah.
That's absolutely fair. Should be a rip up. I think it's just the bounces just happen. So perfect timing. But boys, thank you very much for jumping on this year and doing an amazing job on the teams. Obviously, Alana, who's on holiday for the last few weeks. She's been hosting it and been doing a stellar job. Hopefully, I'm very keen to get this back next season. So thank you, everyone, for watching and commenting and supporting the channel and obviously this show and obviously Southside Pizza. Hopefully, they'll be back next season as well. But plenty of content, no doubt. We'll see Ollie, Evan, and Alana during the off season for some special shows. So thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you Sunday for the watch along. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as always, go you mighty Saints.
Go Saints.
Go Saints.